Jake, you've obviously got a Scottish Cup final to look forward to. Given fans being allowed into stadiums down south already, and it will be happening here, is it incumbent upon the SFA to try and find a venue that can accommodate fans here?
Yeah, and I believe that's the case. I think that some of the information that started to come out in the latter part of yesterday would suggest that there seems to be some positive steps forward to hopefully that being the case. If there's anything being confirmed as of yet, and equally, I think in terms of what the First Minister's announced today in terms of the country as a whole, I think it would point towards us hopefully having more chances of there being supporters involved in the final in some way.
Are you happy to sacrifice the prestige of Hampden for another ground if it means getting fans in?
It doesn't really matter. I think, Mark, it's more about my players because they're the ones that will take to the pitch. So if it comes down to the time whereby we are asked their opinion on it, then I would canvass my players. They say they're the ones that do the important and the hardest part of the job, which is going on and performing and trying to win the competition. So as and when, if that situation arises, that we're asked to give an opinion, then I would just seek their views on it.
How do you treat the two games between now and the final? Does the final get pushed completely to one side, or do you give your players the motivation of trying to get themselves involved for that game?
No, there's absolutely no need for me to give them increased motivation out of the group that have been terrific all season, that have achieved a lot today, that have put themselves in a position going into the final week of the league campaign and then extended the season to both win a cup and finish third in the league. So I can't ask any more of them, and they've proven themselves to be highly motivated. The league game for us, obviously, tomorrow night to begin with, is of significance because we have an opportunity to confirm that position in the league, which we'd like to do. Equally, we need to make sure that we manage the squad properly over this week because Saturday was quite demanding. We picked up some niggles and bumps and bruises, and naturally the cup final, when it comes around, is usually significant as well.
How significant is third place to you? There obviously is a financial incentive, but is it more about what it signals? Yeah,
very much so for us. While as a manager I acknowledge the benefits to the club from a revenue perspective, it's always been about the achievement side of things for us to finish a position in the league that the club hasn't done so in 15 years, I think. A position that we want to try and consistently challenge to be in and try and achieve. So it's hopefully indicative of the steps forward this squad has made over the course of the season, but it's big for us. We want to try and confirm our position. We've had to fight and work hard to put ourselves in that place, and as I said, when we get that close to it, we don't want that opportunity to slip by.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jack, what's different about this season in the sense of your squad and why you've been able to be so consistent? I mean, I'm just looking at last season's table now. Yeah, it was only 30 games, but you finished 7th in the end. So what's been the main difference in the driving force that's pushed you up that table and kept you there for most of the season?
Well, I think first of all, I only really had the job between November and the beginning of March. Last year, mid-November, I think, to the beginning of March, so 3 months really. The club was just off the bottom of the table, I think, when we first came in. So although it's very difficult to say for certainty, but if the season had been allowed to continue, we would have probably felt as if we could have finished in the top 6, which I think, given where we were when we first came in, would have been successful. But this was the first opportunity we had to come in and start from fresh, if you like, with the pre-season behind us and shape the squad a little bit more and build something or put together the pieces of something we thought could be successful. And I feel as if thus far we've shown that to be the case. We've got an opportunity to turn a very good season into a remarkable one over the next 10 days, 11 days. But it's really just a reflection on the players and staff. You know, they mentioned at the beginning about being the one that do the hardest part of the game, and they do that. They're the one that have to go on the park every single week, and my staff that do what that people don't see to prepare them for it. And I think just their mindset has gradually shifted to one that more of a winning one and a consistent winning one, and that's what we want to try and continue to have at the club beyond this season as well.
I mean, I think the age of the squad is reduced as well. There's a lot more youth about the squad. Has that helped change that mindset? Because it's funny, Brian Rice talks about youngsters having no fear, and I think a lot of your games this season, some of the young players have played with no fear.
I mean, I think first of all, when we looked to reduce the age of the squad, I think part of that was around what we felt we needed to play in a team that would give us a chance of success and the attributes you need within it. I think that comes as a bonus that some young players, I think by nature you worry about things less when you're younger. In general, I think as you get older you have more responsibilities and usually more concerns. So I think there is that innocence about youth as well that still remains in a footballing sense. But I think also overall we've just created a culture within the training ground and within the group that has been really driven to succeed this season and has bounced back from disappointment as well, has been resilient at times as well, and has each time there's been a new challenge put in front of them, I feel as if they've dusted themselves and pushed on. And the bonus from that, as you mentioned about young players, to have an 18-year-old play the bulk of the season and be voted Young Player of the Year by Scottish Football Writers, and having other young players like Ryan Porteous and Kevin Nisbet's mainstay of the team is hopefully makes us more attractive to younger players throughout the country in the future, whether they're coming through academies or whether we're trying to attract them from other clubs.
Well, we've been speaking about it most of the season, Jack. When you're a successful team, you tend to lose half your team come the end of the season. I mean, you're on this upward trajectory just now. If you were to keep this team together and build upon it in the summer, could you go even further?
Well, I think to begin with, I think the first challenge is to sustain what we're doing at the moment. And I've spoken often about my admiration for what Derek done at Aberdeen over a sustained period of time, and how that's not easy to do. And so we need to be able to keep together a squad and put together a squad that can do this year after year, because that's not easy. And especially when I look at the makeup and then the potential makeup of the Scottish Premiership next season, with Hearts returning to the league and then the outcome of the playoffs yet to be decided, that it's going to be highly competitive Premiership, and a lot of teams who will believe they will be in the position that we're in at the moment. So I think it's just about firstly putting together a consistent number of seasons whereby that's where we are, because this club hasn't done that often enough over certainly recent history. So, and then beyond that, that's another challenge in itself. But I think, first of all, is to make sure we can do what we're doing this season, year after year.
And finally, for me, Jack, on the cup final, when you were a player, I'm sure it was one of your dreams to turn out at Hampden on the final day of the season and go up those steps and lift a cup and lift a trophy. Do you feel that that's still there? And is Hampden that important, or does it matter? If
I'm speaking purely personally, then still that magic of winning the cup at Hampden is still remains for me. I said, I think in the lead up to the semi-final, I grew up with Scottish Cup final day being a massive part of the football season and being a huge part of my childhood and being a huge part of my ambition as a player. And when you dream of doing it, it's always within the National Stadium, it's not anywhere else. And I know the makeup of that stadium has changed from those days in the 80s and 90s, and it looks different, but it's still the same stadium. So if I'm speaking just from my own point of view in terms of how much I love the game and how much winning the Scottish Cup would mean to me, then I would always choose to do it in Hampden. Now I know there's all these different dynamics that have come into play over the last year and a half, and that will affect people's opinion on it. But for me, it's winning the Scottish Cup. I would always rather it was in the National Stadium.
Thanks, Jack. Good luck tomorrow.
Thanks, Brian. Thank you.
Jack, in that respect then, would having any number of Hibs fans in Hampden to sing Sunshine and Leith at the end of the game when Hibs have won the cup, how special would that be?
Well, I think we've spoken regularly about how unusual it's been without supporters, and how at no point through the course of the season have any of us become accustomed to it. And I think there's always been that longing to have people back within a stadium, irrespective of the numbers. So I think if that's the case, and equally taking it away from our own thoughts on how much it would mean to those people that are fortunate enough to be inside the stadium that have missed being part of that match day routine, and particularly being part of a cup final. So I think for both sides involved in the final, when it comes along, if they've got any supporters and any numbers within the stadium, then undoubtedly it adds to the occasion.
What's your knowledge of Stephen Glass, or do you have much of a relationship with him at all?
Stephen's not maybe a little bit older than me, but not by much. And I spent my youth career at Dundee as an apprentice, and Steve was obviously from that area and then moved to Aberdeen, and I'm being a left-sided player and me playing on the right side of the park. I kind of came across Stephen a lot, did my A licence with him a long time ago. I've still kept in touch with him back and forward in terms of I sent him a message when he got the job at Aberdeen and to wish him all the best. So, yeah, so I think as often as the case in football, particularly when you're of similar ages, it's somebody that I've came across quite a lot over the years, and he's obviously, I think, excited by the opportunity that he's been presented with at Aberdeen.
Finally, I saw Ryan and Joe were back at training this morning. They're all both fine after knocks on Sunday?
We'll wait and see. Yeah, we'll see how they are. Those two plus a couple of others were out, but we'll see how they react to what they did this morning. We said Saturday was quite a tough game for us and quite a quick turnaround, so we'll assess them over the course of today and tomorrow morning and make a decision from them. But you know, maybe that we have to make some changes to the team.
Thank you,
Jack.
Thank you.
Jack, can I just ask quickly about, we saw last night the proposals for the Old Firm to join the Lowland League have been given indicative sort of support from the clubs down there. I mean, Hibs previously have had had a reserve team in the East Scotland League. I mean, is that a plan or a scheme that you think is getting any merit in it?
I must admit, I've not really, in terms of the Old Firm teams being involved in the Lowland League, I haven't given it much thought, to be honest. I've had a busy season and a busy few days in particular. I suppose we seem to have came a long way around in a big circle to get back to the point where young players played in reserve games against senior players. We're basically at the same point as we were a number of years ago, just taking different routes to get there. So if that's the only way in which younger players can experience playing against more seasoned players, whether that's physically or ability-wise, then I think it does aid their development. I think as a young player at any level, being able to test yourself against better, stronger, more experienced players has benefits. You know, I grew up, mentioned earlier in my youth career, I grew up playing in the Premier Reserve League, which was the converse fixture of the first team, and played at the stadiums. So that was a very different dynamic a long time ago. But as I said, if that's the benefit to it, then yeah, I think it will be beneficial for those young players' development that get the opportunity to play in that league.
Is there any concern if the Old Firm are going ahead with this themselves and other big clubs like Hibs, if they're not being given the same opportunity to develop your own youngsters next season? Is that a concern at all?
No, I think if you look at what we've done as a club in terms of the production of young players, then I think we're doing okay. I don't think that's going to hinder our ability to develop young players. I think we've proven in past years, you know, certainly the generation of players that Scott Brown, Steve Whitakers, Steve Fletcher's, all that group that came through at one time, and then again, recently at the moment we've got Josh Doig and Ryan Porteous as mainstays in our first team, shows that the work that's done within the club is good. So no, I think that, you know, we believe, I'm sure that Graham and his role as sporting director and the club are assessing the best future pathway for our academy as a whole, but certainly in terms of the development of young players, I think we've shown there's more than a realistic pathway for the young players to get to the first team.
Nice, Jack.
Thank you.
Hi, Jack. I know last week we spoke about the importance of Gogic, and you said there's also potentially an opportunity for somebody. I think from looking online and stuff, there was a kind of agreement that Hallberg, you know, very much took that opportunity. Is he giving you a selection headache for tomorrow, but also potentially for the final?
Yeah, I mean, certainly he's. I thought he was excellent on Saturday. In fairness, he knew probably 10 days before the semi-final he was going to play in it, so it gave him a long time to be prepared for it. And I also, you know, was more than confident that he would produce that type of performance. Melka's a good player. He's been a little bit unfortunate that he's not played as regularly as he would like. We've got some good performers in that area of the pitch. So all he can do is grab that opportunity when it came along, and he's done that. He more than done that. So yeah, he's certainly put himself very much back in the thoughts, because I think there's a shown probably over the season that if the players are in good form and they're playing well, then they deserve to play in the team. So it's something that I'm sure he'll look to replicate over these next fixtures before ahead of the final. And
obviously Macy's sort of signed a new 2-year deal. I think he's still unbeaten in Hibs jersey. Is that a temptation to stick with him in the league games, or do you expect Rocky to return?
No, Ophir will play tomorrow. You know, we had a plan in place, and we think we've done that properly and sensibly, and we've got two very good goalkeepers at the club that, you know, Ophir's had a brilliant season, reflected in his performance level and the number of clean sheets we had, particularly earlier in the season. And then Matt's shown how good the goalkeeper is when he's played in the game. So we'll continue as we've done previously at the moment.
Fantastic. Best of luck tomorrow. Cheers, Jack.
Thank you.
Any other team news, Jack, for tomorrow?
No, Brian, just the ones that, as I said, there's Sheila touched on. Obviously, Joe Newell, Ryan Porteous, Kevin Nisbet, all had some issues on Saturday, so we'll see how they are over the remainder of today and tomorrow to see if they're all available or not. As I mentioned earlier, we may have to make 1 or 2 changes.
Brilliant, Jack. Thanks, pal.
Thank you.
Tomorrow.
Jack, just a quick one. Just looking to see what your thoughts are on the comments from John Collins on Kevin Nisbet.
Sorry, did you say it again?
Sorry, Jack. Just to see what your thoughts are on John Collins' comments on Kevin Nisbet, saying that he's probably more lazy off the ball and he's looking to see more from him. Are you seeing that in training? And it's just John Collins is not seeing everything?
I did answer this after the game on Saturday. What I would say is that those people that work as pundits and are asked their opinion on the game, I have no issue with them offering that opinion at any point, whether it's about my players or about me. It happens all the time. I don't get precious about it. It doesn't really worry me. I don't really pay much attention to it. For me, I get to work with my players every single day. I understand each and every one of their strengths and their weaknesses. We continually push them to get better, whether it's strengthening their strengths or improving areas of their game that are slightly weaker than others. But with the environment and culture we've created, really the only opinion that matters to my players is that of their teammates and the opinion from me and my coaching staff. And I think that Kevin Nisbet, as a young man who'd never played in the Premiership before, has had an outstanding season. To not score the number of goals he's had, to play in a team that's third in the league and been in 2 semi-finals and final, and to be in the Scotland squad is, I don't think I need to argue the case other than that. So yeah, I'm pretty relaxed about it. Kevin's pretty relaxed about it. I think Kevin answered it at the weekend. I think as far as he's concerned, it's done and dusted. And the only thing I would say on it is that I don't think John did say lazy. I think he maybe inferred that by some of his comments, but I don't think he actually used the word lazy, and I think that's important to stress as well.
Thanks, Jack.
Thank you.